So have you ever wondered what a bad tie rod end actually looks like? In case you haven't actually seen one, here's what happens when the tie rod end, which is this, wears out and gets too loose and makes noise and you get a lot of slop in your steering. This is the part that goes into the spindle, this part with the threads here. It usually has a little nut that tightens it down into the spindle, and this is the part down here that threads onto the tie rod end. So when you turn the wheel, the tie rod end pushes or pulls on the spindle via this, and that's how your wheels turn and move. Well, you're not supposed to have play in that, you know. When these things get worn out, that's what happens. You get a lot of slop in there, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, especially if this breaks. If this breaks, then your whichever wheel that is just kind of points where it wants to. So think about that happening at 65 miles an hour. It's not pretty. So anyway, let's take a look at this. And this is normally these are supposed to be quite tight, and they're also supposed to be filled with grease in there. Oops. If you can notice, there's very little if any grease, and that's because the boot that protects it, which is no longer here, I tore it off, but it had a big hole in it. So the grease gets out and dirt and water get in and it wears it out. So, and this is non-greasable. It does not have no fitting on it. It's supposed to be grease for life, haha. So its life just ended. But anyway, let's look at this and see what it's doing. This is the inner part. Like I said, it's supposed to be pretty tight. So I can actually move this and see it easily. I can get this to stay where I want it. Anyway, see the slop in it even if the thing's moving. So you move it back and forth. See that? There's actually some up and down movement, but most of the movement is actually laterally, like that. It's not supposed to do that, and that's, you know, you can think about how much that loosens your steering response up, because when you move one part or the other, namely this part down here with your steering, you can see that's how much it's going to move before it moves the spindle and turns the wheel. So keep an eye on your tie rod ends, especially, you know, when you have an older car. Definitely keep those in mind. I actually checked them on this truck and they were pretty tight. They were pretty good on that truck. Of course, that truck's got greasable tie rod ends and other suspension items, so yay Chevy. So okay guys, I thought you might like to see that and just see what one of these looks like when it goes. So always check your suspension on an older car. Thanks for watching.